If you have said to yourself, I should write that, or if someone has said to you, you should write that, then I'm talking to you because you need to write. And that's why you're tuned in to yWrite. Hi, welcome to yWrite. I'm your host, Angela Grout, and thanks for tuning in for another episode of learning how to get your story written. You know, as I've always said, there's so many different ways to be a storyteller, and obviously one of them is to grab a pen and paper and write down your story. There's a way to just verbally tell your story, as many parents do to their children. You know, riding in a car, we'll tell them about our youth because, you know, they're so interested in it. But there's another aspect to it, which is poetry and music. And, you know, so many times, even myself, I'll hear a song in my head, and whether it's something off the radio or just something in my own imagination, I wonder, could I write a song? Well, today we're going to meet a songwriter. So today on our show, I'm very excited to welcome Faith Rheault. She is a local songwriter and singer. So let me tell you a little bit about Faith. Faith is right here from Western Massachusetts, and she started singing and writing songs in grade 3, like 3rd grade. She has been writing since she was 13, and I'm sorry, I want to restate what I just said because she's been a singer since grade 3, but she's been writing songs since she's been 13. So sorry about that. Sometimes I need to wear my cheaters to be able to read my notes, but I don't want to use my cheaters because, you know, as my kids say, it makes me look a little older. But anyways, I'm going to put them on. Her Faith's music has been compared, her voice and her music has been compared to Adele and Nora Jones. She sings every weekend. She's booked with gigs, whether it's at a local winery or a brewery or some of the restaurants here in Western Massachusetts. So perhaps you have seen her. And if you haven't seen or met Faith Rheault, you're going to meet her today, and you're going to find out all about her music, and you're even going to hear a little bit. So welcome, Faith.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome.
Very excited.
I think you can take my glasses off now since, you know, we're going to have a nice conversation. So let me ask you, like, you know, I'm a writer. I've written novels. I've written poetry, you know, dabbled a little bit in other avenues. But as a songwriter, when you're, I guess, creatively thinking about, you know, words, does it come to you in a song? Like, do you hear music and lyrics? Do you just hear, are they just thoughts that come to you?
It's interesting because I don't ever hear it. Like, there's nothing like that I hear. It's all lyrics for me.
Okay.
The music comes later typically, but yeah, I don't know if I'm like weird in that sense, if that's like not normal, but
so you write poetry, kind of, or
yeah,
I'll call it poetry,
yeah,
but you're writing the lyrics, but you know that they're to be set to music.
Yes, but I never like hear what the song sounds like while I'm writing it.
Okay, so when you write these lyrics, and you know, the words on paper, you know, it's like gets out of your head or gets your thoughts manifested so that you can see them. Putting it to music is a whole nother art because, you know, you're writing the music. So you've obviously studied music. I mean, you took guitar lessons. Can you tell us a little bit about what you do for instruments?
Yeah, so I actually didn't take guitar lessons. I self-taught on the guitar. I took some piano lessons from my uncle for a little bit. But yeah, the actual instrumentation part, that's what's very difficult for me. Like the putting it to music, doing that stuff. I tell people I'm a singer who plays guitar. I'm not a guitarist who sings, if that makes sense.
No, that makes a lot of sense.
It kind of like puts it in perspective to people. Like I self-taught enough to be able to, you know, sing while I do it. But as far as, you know, I'm no Jimi Hendrix.
So you're naturally picking up the guitar and finding the melody that's going to go with these songs.
Yeah, most of my songs are actually written on piano, which is kind of funny because when I play out, I don't play the piano, I play the guitar, and then...
And no piano lessons either?
Piano lessons from my uncle for a little bit, but I didn't stick around with it long enough to...
Yeah, I took piano lessons for a couple years, and, you know, I don't consider myself a songwriter, but I've written lyrics that I hear the music to. Like, I do hear it. So I have been able to go to the piano, you know, with one hand and kind of play it and try to write it out, so at least I can get, like, the chorus feel of it.
Yeah.
But... Yeah, I'm, you know, someone who can write a lyric but can't really sing it. Or
Yeah.
maybe I'll sing one today. I don't know. We'll see. I don't know if I'm brave enough to sing on TV, but I don't think that's my forte. We're going to let the singing be for you. So when did you first start singing, like, publicly?
So my very first, when I say I started singing in 3rd grade, the reason I say that is because that was my first ever public appearance as a singer. It was the 3rd grade talent show. I sang the national anthem. I forgot the words. But no, so I started doing, like, gigs, like shows, like my shows, whatever you want to call them, about a year and a half ago. Okay. But prior to that, it was open mics, couple weddings, family weddings that I've sang at, and just pretty much any place that would take me. I did, there was a competition at Majestic Theater. They did the summer thing or whatever. But yeah, not until about a year and a half ago did I really.
And you're singing your original songs.
I do sing some. My parents yell at me that I don't sing enough of them, but sometimes it's just not the right place to. My songs aren't super, like, upbeat and happy.
I like them. They're good.
You. But sometimes when you're singing at breweries and stuff, it's not exactly the right environment. But I do try to play at least 1 or 2.
No, you have a great melody. I can't wait for my audience to hear a little bit in a little while. So. I love the fact that you're saying that, you write the lyrics down and then you're just literally, like, I can picture just strumming the guitar until you kind of get the beat of what you want it to sound like. Do you write down the notes afterwards?
I try to. Sometimes I'm not great at writing this stuff down, and then I'm like, oh man, what?
So you'll record yourself doing it, and then you automatically just play it again, and you get it.
Yeah. So I'll write it down. I'll use my my phone. It's like the voice memos. Yes. I'll do that, or I'll record it, like, so I can see myself.
Yeah, the modern technology that we have at our fingertips now is really amazing.
Yeah, it really is. Luckily, because I would never remember any of the chords if I didn't.
So one of the songs that I heard was, listened to quite a few of your songs, and you have a really beautiful voice.
Thank you.
I mean, it's very soothing, and it's gorgeous. It's heaven sent. So congratulations, not only for having the talent, but also for having the confidence to share it.
Thank you.
Because that's a hard thing.
It is.
We all think we sound good in the shower, but when you find out you really do sing good, it's like, oh, do I share this publicly?
Well, for a while there, you're like, are my parents just telling me I'm great? Like, you don't know unless, I don't know, so.
How did you get over that to say, yeah, okay, I can do this?
It comes with practice. It's not... You just have to kind of do it. It's one of those things where...
You just jump in the pool. And,
Yep. You can't dip your toe in. You got to just do it and hope for the best. And, it gets easier as it goes on. And it's been great, so...
That's really... I mean, a year and a half, and look at how far you've come. That, you're booked every weekend. You have an album that you put together.
Yeah.
And I know on it, you have a song that calls When Our Fairy Tale Ends, which is a really beautiful song.
Thanks.
I'd like the audience to hear it.
Yeah,
I know they're watching saying, oh, yes, we can't wait to hear her sing. You're going to hear her sing, but it's going to be one of her videos. She's not singing live in the studio. But let's watch this clip of her video, and we'll be right back.
Used to feel so safe in our little brick house. Now it feels like the big bad wolf could blow it down. Everything's perfect, nothing's changed. At least it's what I tell myself every day, to ignore the pain. And Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall, but you and me, we took the fall. Can somebody put us back together again? 'Cause this can't be how our story ends. So let's pretend that our story turns out like the others. You and me find a way back to each other, 'cause I don't want our fairy tale to end. So let's pretend. Boy, you cried wolf too many times, and when you tried to break my heart, I knew this time was a lie. I don't know why you play these games with my mind. So tell me, when's it gonna be the last time? So let's pretend that a story turns out like the others, and you and me find our way back to each other. 'Cause I don't want our fairy tale to end. Let's pretend that you and me are fine, 'cause I don't want this to be the end of the line. So when our fairy tale tries to end, let's pretend, 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 pretend. And what if Cinderella never made it to the ball, and you and me weren't meant to be after all? And what if everything that I thought I knew was just a distraction from the truth? What if happily ever after was just the end of a chapter? So let's pretend that a story turns out like the others. You and me find our way back to each other. 'Cause I don't want our fairy tale to end. Let's pretend that you and me are fine, 'cause I don't want this to be the end of the line. So when our fairy tale tries to end, let's pretend. Thank you.
You have to agree that that is absolutely beautiful.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can you tell me a little bit about writing even just that song? Like, is there a backstory to it? Because, it's the lyrics, are, when your fairy tale ends, let's pretend.
Yeah.
And what are we pretending?
Yeah, well, that one, I mean, there's backstories to all of my songs.
I want to know them all.
I'll tell you. Everything I write is from personal experience or just a feeling or emotion. So for that one, that was about a relationship that, you start a relationship and you're in that honeymoon phase, it's like a fairy tale. But, as things progress and things move on, sometimes it's not always the fairy tale, you have your issues and whatnot. And that song is just about kind of like you're in that hard time or whatever, and you want to just pretend that everything's perfect, everything's fine, and you just want to live in this, magical fairy tale world, even though reality sometimes hits you, and it's not quite as fun.
I'll share, like, for me, listening to the song, I felt a lot of grief in it, and that just kind of bubbled up for me. But I think when I've lost someone, and I felt like, okay, you want the fairy tale to be that they lived, that they didn't die. So it's like to do let's just pretend, let's pretend that didn't happen. And for one example, I had a friend who passed away in college, and my mind can be like, well, they just went away to a different college. Like, we lost touch.
Yeah.
And it's like, let's just let the fairy tale continue here, because let's pretend.
That's what I love about songwriting too, is like, and music in general. Like, I never would have thought about it in that aspect, because that's not how I wrote it. But it can touch people in so many different ways. Yeah. And I just love, it's whatever resonates with you, and that's whatever.
Yeah. I say that even about my books and things, because it's like you're not going to be able to, manipulate, I don't know if that's the right word, how your audience is going to interpret your words. Yeah. Because it's very personal, and they're listening to it because they're taking it in and resonating with that song, whether it's the music itself or the lyrics, and it means something to them. But, on this show, we're really talking about, like, well, what did it mean to you? Because it's like, that story behind, why someone writes a song or writes a book or writes a play or a movie, or, it's like, okay, well, what motivated you to do that? And so many people watching my show, everyone's a writer. Everyone has a story in them, whether they write it as a song or whatever. But, like, to be able to get it out, to express it, even if it's just for themselves, is can be, the word is daunting. Like, how do I do this? I mean, sharing it with the world, saying, oh, this is my love story and, it kind of fell apart or whatever. It's like, that's a whole, another aspect of it. But, your confidence and your ability to do that is incredible.
Thank you.
You have great energy, for
Thank
sure.
you.
So your album is called what?
Eyes Open.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I heard, I didn't hear, but I know you won an award recently. So you want to tell us a little bit about that award?
Yeah, yes,
we're going to boast about it. We'll let you boast about it.
I didn't get a plaque or anything, so I was nominated and chosen actually as one of the top 5 female singer-songwriters in Western Mass and Connecticut. So yeah, it was really exciting. It was the New Music Alliances who chose me. So yeah, it was really exciting.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it was really awesome.
I mean, to be in the top 5, of course we all watch like the American Idol and The Voice. You're like, oh, who's in the top 5? I mean, this is a really high honor. And,
it is.
There are people out there who can sing and sing really well, but they're not writing songs.
Yeah.
It's one thing to be able to do cover bands and things. It's another thing to be your own original.
Yeah.
And you definitely are that.
Thank you.
You have another song that's, we're not going to play it, so go check it out. It's on YouTube, right? They can find your songs? Or
Spotify. YouTube might not be updated, Gotta get on that.
There's 2 other songs I want to talk about. One is Stay.
Yeah.
And one is Girls Like You.
Yeah.
And, both of them are very cool because the title alone, you're like, what's that about? Like, Stay. And, and of course, Girls Like You. So can you tell me a little bit about the song Stay?
Yeah, so Stay for me, it was that feeling of, most of my songs are about relationships with, so that was a relationship that I was in that, you're fighting, you say something you don't mean, and it's that feeling of regret, like, oh my God, like, why did I say that? Yeah. Like, maybe this is my lowest moment, and like, can you please just stay with me? Like, I'm working on it. I'm trying to be better. Mm-hmm. Like, yeah, I'm sorry. It's part of the lyrics.
And again, I'll say, like, everyone interprets things differently, and that's yours. I'm listening to it going, sometimes when I'm talking and sharing, talking to you, and then I start sharing like a story or something, and I don't want my viewers or my audience or even you to like lose interest. So all of a sudden I'm like, oh, why did I bring that up? Like, now it's going on that side tangent that you're like, wait, just stay with me for a minute. I'm sorry, just stay with me. I'm going to refocus, So it was just like a little bit of a motivation for someone who goes like, as a writer, whether you're procrastinating or you start going off on like another subject that you are like, wait, why am I talking about traffic right now? Like, wait a second, stay with me. Let me bring this back in. So I was like, the whole, like, I could feel like that, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, totally. And speaking of that, at one of my shows, this man came up to me saying that he resonated with it for a completely different reason. Like, his daughter was going through a really hard time with, drugs and different things like that. And he said it really touched him because, he felt like it was describing his life. And I said before, I never would have thought about it in that aspect. But it's just nice to be able to touch people in different ways. It's
so beautiful when you do, here you're writing these lyrics coming from your heart, but coming through your body and through your soul that, have so much meaning for so many people. So it's so great that you share that because I am totally in awe.
Oh, well, it's therapeutic for me. I hope it's
therapeutic for people. Well, music's a universal language, so it's therapeutic for everyone, for sure.
That's the goal, I guess.
And your voice does sound, similar to Adele. It's that very sultry, soft, beautiful, powerful energy. The lyrics, the way you write them, and how you're writing them, especially since they're based on experience, is a little similar to the Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
Like, oh boy, not bashing your relationships.
Totally.
But, at least taking the experiences that you have and, turning them to something good.
Yeah.
And I've always said that, like, my book, Dear Baby Get Out's about childbirth, and I say that, I've experienced it. And, it's like, there was good times and bad times, but when you can share your story that it can help other people, it's, so valuable.
Yeah, because it's sometimes terrifying to sing these songs in public and you're like, oh my God, like, is anybody listening? Does anybody like this song? Like,
yes, we love it.
So when they come up and they say, I'm like, I can take a little breath. I'm like, okay, like, it's fine.
Girls, wait, this is a great segment. Girls Like Me. That's the name of a song. Girls Like Me definitely want you to keep singing. So now you have a song called Girls Like Me.
Girls Like You.
Girls Like You. Yeah, Girls Like Me. Me, you. Girls Like You. Tell us a little bit about that song, and they definitely have to hear it, so they're going to have to find you on Spotify for that.
That one's a spicy one. So most of my songs are written from sadness. That one was a little different for me. I was trying to branch out a little. It was written from anger. I was really mad that
Sadness,
day.
anger.
You know, not everybody gets along with everybody. There's certain people that rub people the wrong way. You know, you're not everybody's cup of tea. And, you know, me and a certain someone had some issues, and, you know, she wrote a blog post, I wrote a song, you know the whole Taylor Swift thing. But that one's just, it was super fun to write that one, because it put me out of my comfort zone and as far as how I normally write songs. So I was kind of trying to explore some different things there. But
yeah, and again, what a great like example of how you take something negative in your life and turn it into something positive.
Yeah.
You know, because it's like, as you know, a creative person, we need to do that. That's therapeutic for us, because we don't want that negative energy around us. So if we can take that negative energy and somehow twist it into something like, you know, with that happy ending, so it can still be a fairy tale, and pretend that was, you know, not even pretending, the reality that you went through the experience in order to, you know, do what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing I love about songwriting is, like, you know, even in your darkest times, you know, it could be horrible, but you turn that something horrible into something beautiful. And, like, that's why I just love, like, the darkness with, like, the, you know, angelic voice or whatever you want to say. Like,
no, you
I
do.
just
you have that angelic voice, and even the music, the melodies. I mean, they're very, you know, not sound cliche, like catchy, you know.
Yeah. Well,
you know, it's catchy.
Ideal, right?
You
That's
know?
what you want it to be.
You want it to be catchy. I mean, it's enjoyable. You know, I guess that's the word too. And like you said, you know, not everybody's your cup of tea. You know, so I mean, you know, if someone's, you know, liking hard rock, or, you know, but I don't know who wouldn't like your voice.
Oh, well, thank you.
You know, I mean, you could play it for a lullaby for a baby, and you could play it, you know, at a wedding to dance, and you can play it, you know, when you're angry.
Yeah, there's so many
sad.
different...
and not feel so alone. And I think that's, you know, music is that, you know, because as a writer, you're alone doing these things.
Yeah.
But as a listener and a reader and someone who enjoys music, you feel heard. And you don't feel alone when you're listening to that music.
Yeah, because it's really nice when people relate to it, because, yeah, like you said, you're like, am I the only one that feels this way? Like,
No, it's so true. I mean, I've said this to, you know, other writers that I've had on the show, that, you know, like, you know, even saying to you, like, do you hear it? Do you, you know, feel it? Do you see it as a movie? You know, do you see the, you know, whatever it is, because you want to feel like what you're going through isn't like such a crazy moment. And being a creative person, you know, definitely can make you have those thoughts.
Absolutely.
Of like, am I, you know, and I'm just imagining this for you, like, am I really going to sing this in front of, you know, 2,000 people right now?
Right.
This song that I wrote, like, do they really
might
care
as well just stand up there naked and they can just,
and
like...
that's because you're like, you know, exposing all of you in a way, but it's like, that's how internally we may feel. But the audience looks at it like, oh, this is, you know, just wonderful, and I needed this today.
Well, I hope that's
they will. Yeah. So you play out a lot of area places. What are you doing right now? Where can someone go find where you're playing? And
so I always post my my music schedule on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay.
So I'm on both of those. I'm on Spotify if you're trying to listen. The YouTube, we're still updating that. It's a little old. If you want to see my 8th grade videos, head over there.
And it's under your name,
Yes.
Faith Rheault,
Yes.
which is not related to Mike Rowe from the Dirty Jobs.
No.
It's Rheault.
Yes.
So, you know, and it is, like, even with yWrite, if people Google yWrite, they might put in WHY.
Yeah.
Or they could even put RIGHT.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, with Rowe, it's like, you know, they might want to spell it differently, so we want to make sure they know how to find that.
Yes, and
sure.
I put in the tags, you can put, like, tags. I always put different spellings in case people
I've been
misspell.
doing that too, because it's like, oh, well,
So
what
hopefully.
if someone does that, you know?
Yeah.
So what's your favorite part? I mean, I know it's always hard to narrow it down. What's your favorite part about songwriting and singing?
I would have to say the initial, like, idea to paper. If that makes sense. Like, I have an idea in my head and getting it to the point where it's like, you know, my art piece, I don't know,
Yeah.
everybody calls it something different, but that seeing it transform into what it is, because I'll have videos from songs, well, let's say fairy tales, and I listened to it the other day, and when it started, it sounded completely different than what it ended up as. And I just love the process of like seeing how it changed, like, oh wow, I changed that note, and like just different things.
So are you changing the melody of it, or are you changing the words?
Both. Whatever, you know, whatever fits in that. I'm like, oh, I like this line, but it doesn't really fit in this melody, so I can either change the melody, change the words. It can be a little overwhelming sometimes because there's so many things you can change. You're like,
yeah, and you don't want to, you know, as they say, kill your darlings.
Yes,
you know,
yes.
like, this is a great line, but then sometimes you think, okay, maybe I saved that for either another song or a different part.
Yeah, and you know, it's all in my notes app on my iPhone. I've got different things everywhere, and sometimes it's just like piecing them
God
together.
for Steve Jobs and the iPhone.
I know. But yeah, it's a super fun process, and I really enjoy doing that. So.
And what about performing?
I do love performing too. Singing itself is very, you know, it's all therapeutic for me. I mean, that's kind of why I do it. I just love it. But, you know, it's...
And you're alone on stage.
I am. It's like
it's
also
not like you don't
kind
have
of
a band. You don't have you can change your song list as you go along.
Yeah. No, when I did the Big E, that was super fun because, you know, you get the big stage.
Yeah.
The big stages are way more fun than,
and
you know,
the Big E, for those of you
sometimes.
who maybe don't know, and if you don't know, I don't know why you don't know, but it's the Eastern States Exposition, which is the home of the greatest state fair in the country, as far as I'm concerned. And it's here in West Springfield, Massachusetts. It lasts 3 weeks in September, so I'm going to have to reach out to them so they can sponsor this show.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you sang at the Big E.
I did,
And they have the concert stages.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, what's it like to walk out there and, you know, you're obviously dealing with sound. You have people helping you with sound, but you don't have, you know, the backup band. You don't have anyone. You're just freewheeling.
And I always tell people I don't know if this is weird, but it's easier for me to sing to a large crowd than it is to a small crowd. Because for a small crowd, it's like, you know, they're listening. They hear every mistake, everything. But when you're singing to a big crowd, it's like, 200 people, if, you know, if I mess up a small line, nobody's even paying attention. You know, it's so many people.
That is a benefit of being a solo artist, I think, because if you do make a mistake, the only one who really knows is you.
Oh, yeah.
You
My
know?
mom's at the point where she's heard me so many times, she knows every mistake I make. She can give me a look.
Yeah.
But nobody notices. You know, you just play it off like it's whatever. But
I was a dancer for many years.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you're dancing with a group and you're all in unison and doing it all at the same time, you make a mistake, it's noticeable.
Oh, yeah.
When you're on stage and you're doing that solo,
That's
it's
a good
like
point.
all of a sudden, if you don't do that one move and you turn it into something else, you know.
Yeah, there's benefits.
It works out, you know. It's like, okay, whatever, we'll just roll with it. And, you know, it doesn't phase because the audience is really listening to the entertainment part of what you're providing them with.
Yeah.
Whereas your mom's now watching her daughter perform, so she's always going to try to make you better every time.
Totally. But when we talked about confidence, like that's just one of those things that it's going to happen. You learn through it, and that it makes you better at the end. Like you're going to make mistakes, you're going to do all that stuff, and you just got to roll with it.
Yeah, you do. You have to roll with it because you.
The less attention you bring to it.
Yeah, and you can. Like my glasses at the beginning of the show. Like, oh wait, I can't read my cue cards, and I'm really trying to print them in larger fonts.
Yeah. But I you know, when I mess up, I sometimes I'll just be like, oh yeah, I messed up, and people laugh. And
I mean, we're human.
When you,
yeah, you're human. So, you know, whatever it is, it is. So what's your goals? Like, what do you think? Where do you think you're going to be in? I don't know, 5 years, 2 years, 3 months?
Yeah. The goal for me is to basically be able to fully support myself while solely doing singing. Right now I'm about like halfway there.
Okay.
I do have another job that I work. But I'm kind of just taking whatever opportunities come my way and I'm letting it be what it is. You know, I'm not like, in 5 years, if I'm not here, then I'm quitting forever. Like, it's just, I'm enjoying what I'm doing. Yeah. I'm going to keep doing it. And, whatever opportunity comes my way, I'll take it and see where I end up.
and I live by that motto of just enjoying it and having fun. I have 2 daughters, one of them who is a singer, even though she doesn't let me talk about it, but she has performed.
I love that.
And she just won a little award for singing the national
anthem.
So
I love that.
Kind of cool.
That is.
But it's like, they're big lacrosse players, and anything that they do, they put 100% in, and they have more of my husband's competitive gene, whereas I don't have that. I don't think I have a competitive gene. It's more like, I'll say to them, just have fun today, and they're like, Mom, we gotta win. And I'm like, well, as long as you're having fun, that's what, is important, because if you can do what you enjoy in life, you're going to find more passion doing it.
Absolutely.
And that's the contagious energy of who you are, you know, because nobody, wants to be at a job that they hate.
No.
You know, because if you do, you're not enjoying your life, and you only get one life. So you might as well, do what you enjoy, and if you can do it and provide, a living for yourself, that's
a
awesome.
goal for everybody, right?
That's a goal for everybody. But even just for the people who are out there who do it as a hobby, and not necessarily looking to make it a career, it's still, you got to follow that passion.
Absolutely.
So if you could give advice, because you got to give advice to someone who has a song in them and wants to get it out, how do you help them? How would you coach them to get it out?
Well, the first step is to just get it out. So we talked about, throwing you to the wolves, whatever. You got to get it out.
Yeah.
Because if it's stuck in here, nobody's going to hear it, and then you don't have anything. So definitely get it out. Write everything down. See it out. You can always adjust things that you don't like. It's hard because everybody's process is different. For me, it's it comes from the heart, so it's a little bit easier because it's already in there. Yeah. So just feel it.
My second book here, Dear Baby Get Out.
Yeah.
I've used it in writing classes and things, because even though it's a memoir on childbirth, the lesson really is that when you have something inside you, you're the only one who can give birth to it.
That's so true.
And if you're birthing music, you're birthing songs. So for, the people out there that, want to write a song or write a book or whatever, they want to be able to kind of put in their own memoir or to share with a wider audience, it's like, okay, you need to give birth.
You do.
And giving birth is difficult. I've had, 2 children, and, you'll maybe read the book before you have children and be like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I want to do this. But, it's like, it's a laborious process. There's a reason why you're pregnant for almost 10 months, to like nurture that infant, and then to, bring it into the world. And of course, you keep it close to you for, a couple months before you're really
Those songs are my baby.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what my comparison is, here, you're writing it on paper, and then slowly you start to like share it with family, and then share it with friends. And next thing you know, you're sending it off to college.
Yeah.
And it's getting its own life. Describing it, similar to that whole like birthing a child with these babies. How long does it take you? And I know you've only been singing out for 1.5 years, so it's been a pretty quick process. Like the incubation period of a song to getting it written with music.
So I'm trying to speed up that process, because for a while it was my first song that I released, Monsters. I wrote that maybe 5-6 years before it ever was released ever. So I'm trying to close that gap a little bit, but it's nice because songs, I have written down from a few years back, and let's say I didn't use this line, and that would be really good in the song that I'm trying to write now. So it's nice because you can still use it even though it's far back. But to answer your question, well, it's hard to answer because it's just such a...
I know, each song is individual. Each song has its own...
It is. Like, I wrote a song 2 years ago, and I'm just now starting to get, like, the production and music behind it. Because I never really knew how to do any of that before. So now I'm, like, getting to that point where I'm starting to learn that stuff to be able to push it out a little quicker. And
when you go into the studio to record, you already have it ready to go, or are you using studio time to still develop it?
Both. So I'll have the basic either guitar and voice or piano and voice, and any other instrumentation I need help with, because I don't play drums. So if it needs a steady beat, I can't play that. So I need some help there. And then that's when you can do the fun stuff like the harmonies and all that stuff. But that I don't I don't write like that. Some people are like, I can hear it, each thing. Like I said, I really just see the lyrics and that's it. As far as the piano, that just comes when I want it to be a song. Because, I guess it does. It starts as poetry. That's all it is. And until you put music to it, it's just words on paper.
Well, and so many poems you see, like, I'll read them and go, this is a song,
Yeah.
But there's no melody behind it.
Right. I mean,
you're combining, both of them to, just create this beautiful heavenly presence to share with others. So this is so great. I want to have you on with your guitar and have you sing live.
I'd love to.
That would be very cool. So again, you're on, tell my audience where they can buy your music and where they can find you and learn more information.
Yes, so primarily Facebook and Instagram is where you're going to find my schedule for playing out. As far as my original music, you can find it on any streaming service, so Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, all that fun stuff. I'm getting into the TikTok, so for all you younger viewers here, we're getting there.
I know. Everyone's like, "Are you on TikTok?" Yeah,
I'm trying, but it's so hard.
That out. It's a full-time job. The social media stuff. It's a full-time job to market for yourself because, and you want to dedicate the time to it, obviously, but you don't want to take the time away from being creative and creating what you need to do to market.
I think that is for every small business. It's like, do I take away time and throw myself solely into my business and step away from my other job or whatever you want to say, but that is tough.
Yeah, it's very hard. So again, on the Facebook and the YouTube, it is your name.
Yep. So Faith Rheault Music is on all my accounts. It's all the same on all.
I just want to make sure because you go to YouTube and you go to Facebook and you type in a profile and just so people can find you. So Faith Rheault Music.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you so much for
having me.
I really
appreciate it.
I love talking with you.
This was great. So I'm so glad that you all got to meet our friend Faith here from Western Massachusetts. I hope you're going to tune in and find out more information about her on all of her sites and hopefully buy her music and go see her perform live and in concert, which will be awesome. And I want to, definitely thank, my sponsors for the show. I want to thank Studio 954. And I want to thank you for tuning in to this show each week to hear about new guests and new opportunities of how people take the time to write and share their thoughts and their emotions and their gifts and their passions, because all of that resides in you too. So hopefully one day you'll have your story written out to share with your family or maybe on YouTube. We'll see. At this point of the show, I give my audience a prompt because, a lot of the audience members, whether they're a writer or a reader, they can either contemplate this or pick up their pen and, start writing their story. So today's prompt, because we've had a songwriter on, I want you to write a song. You can write your favorite song. Just start writing the lyrics out, whether, it's the song your mother sang to you as a child or a song that maybe you sang to your children that you may have created and you didn't even know. Write down those lyrics. And again, you can just start writing a poem and then just start thinking about that melody in your head because there's music in you too. So thank you so much for joining us today on yWrite, and follow us on YouTube, and we're streaming everywhere, and we have a writers conference coming up this November. So watch us and follow on www.y-write.com. Thank you so much. Have a great day. See you next time.